So welcome everyone. Our monthly meeting, February 2022. Yay, we didn't freeze to death. This month we have Sam Lytle coming to talk to us about his, I guess, your whole career so far, right?
Something like that.
Well, take it away. Everyone's here to listen.
Right. And if I want to share my screen, I can just do this right here. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. Thanks for having me, Adam. Good to see familiar face Andy joining us. And so just a rough overview of what I'm going to be covering today. I'll give a background about myself, how I got to this point of building software. And then I'll talk about just an overview of BeyondCAD, which is our flagship product. And then I'll give a demo of BeyondCAD. And then I'll give an overview of Beyond Typicals, our second product. And then I'll do a demo of that. And then if there are burning questions, feel free to stop me at any time, but I will definitely save time at the end for any of your questions. And that includes if you guys want to see something specific in the software, I can share the screen and make that happen as well. So I'm in the Nevada area. I was born and raised in the Las Vegas general area, and I went to University of Nevada, Las Vegas, graduated in 2010, and started my career with Nevada Department of Transportation. We call it NDOT around here. And it was not more than a few months into my career that I realized that I may not have chosen the correct path for myself with civil engineering. And I'm more of a creative person, and I was rapidly figuring that out. And so luckily, I was able to get some chances of doing 3D visualization in my young career at NDOT. And I fell in love with that. I really liked my time doing that. It was an opportunity to use my education in civil engineering, but also to use some more creative elements. And so even though I wanted to continue my career and make sure I got a license, not only because that's the path that I was on, but also because I had a family and I wanted to provide for them, I also knew early on that I wanted to eventually devote my career to 3D visualization. And so in 2014, I left the engineering and consulting world, at least full-time, and started a company called CivilFX. And we provided 3D visualization for transportation and civil projects. And I grew that company over the next 6 years. I hired a project manager named Wayne Sullivan. He'd been doing this for a long time, and he really helped us take it to the next level. We started building a team. And in 2020, I sold CivilFX to a company called Parametrics. And we had built the company up to 10 employees. So 7 of the employees went with Parametrics, and myself and 2 of the developers went with me to my new company, which is BeyondCAD. And my goal, so while I was doing CivilFX, I was trying to kind of push interactive visualization in transportation and civil, but there were some inherent issues. And one of them was there had never really been good visualization engines built specifically for this industry. And so I would try and use things like Lumion or Twinmotion. And I loved what those products were doing. They made visualization easy and accessible, but they couldn't do the things that I needed them to do, like advanced traffic, visual graphics showing the arrows and the different movements. The asset libraries were filled with assets that I would never use, like bookshelves and kitchen sinks and rugs. So when kind of the later days of CivilFX, we kind of started building our own tool to make visualization more accessible for transportation and civil. And so when I started BeyondCAD, we continued building that tool out, and it's built on Unreal Engine. And so in 2021, we started early access for BeyondCAD, which is this visualization engine. And a few weeks ago, we've kind of started our full public access, including launching our second product. So in summary, for the last 10 years, I've focused my career on 3D visualization in transportation and civil. I am a licensed civil engineer, and now I'm trying to make products that will make visualization more accessible to those doing the engineering and design. And that's the long-term goal. I want to change the industry for our industry, like was done in architecture with things like Lumion, because back then they didn't do visualization in-house very much. They would outsource it. And then those visualization engines came along. And nowadays, almost every architect uses visualization engines to do their own 3D visualization in-house. So that's my 5-year plan, is let's have those doing roadway design in roads and open roads or civil 3D be the ones actually doing the visualization. And with BeyondCAD, that's already being realized. So if I invite you to check out our website, beyondcad.com, I'll be sharing that somewhat here, but everything will look a lot better if you just go there yourself. So again, we have 2 products, BeyondCAD, and the second one is Beyond Typicals. So I'm going to talk about BeyondCAD first. And as a reminder, this is built on Unreal Engine. And just a quick story about our involvement with Unreal Engine. So when we were at CivilFX, we were using a complex workflow that involved Unity 3D, which is a competitor to Unreal Engine. And it worked well, but in probably 2017, 2018, the folks over at Epic Games, the maker of Unreal Engine, they started noticing what I was doing, and they invited me to submit for a mega grant. And so I looked into what this program was, and Epic Games is also the maker of Fortnite. And I'm guessing that many of you have heard of Fortnite, especially those of you that have 11-year-old sons like I do. And so Fortnite had received so much success that they weren't planning on, that they decided to use some of that money and make a grant program for developers of Unreal Engine, which was $100 million that they set aside. And so I submitted an application, and we received money for one of these mega grants. And at first it was because I wanted to build a distracted driving simulator using virtual reality. And so we did that. This was still during the CivilFX days. And that was a success, and they were excited about it. But I was feeling a little guilty because my son, he was probably 7, 8 at the time, and I'd not let him play Fortnite, and they'd just given us, the 6-figure grant. And so I was feeling guilty. And during this process, they said, you guys have done a good job, and you can submit for more than 1 mega grant. And so I was like, wow, well, we've kind of started building this visualization engine. Now we know it's BeyondCAD, and we should submit another mega grant. So we did, and we got a second mega grant. And at this point, I was feeling so guilty that I wasn't letting my son play Fortnite, that I was like, son, it's time. Go fire up that Xbox, go play Fortnite. And he's basically hasn't stopped playing ever since. So that's the connection between Unreal Engine, Fortnite, and what we're doing with BeyondCAD. So we're grateful for their funding. Obviously, I sold CivilFX, and so a lot of the funding has come from that as well. So the goal of BeyondCAD is not to do any of the modeling. It's not some sort of civil 3D or even an Infraworks, but it's just a visualization engine. So you're going to do the modeling somewhere else. You're going to bring in the CAD files into BeyondCAD. You can apply the textures. You can place 3D assets. We'll talk about the asset library in just a minute. You can animate traffic. We'll also talk about that, which is a very important part of these projects. And then you can use all of these and more to tell the story of your project. And that's essentially what 3D visualization is it is communicating the project. And I have a lot of people talk to me about, BIM features or being able to integrate database elements and all these things. And those things are important, but we're not tackling those problems. One of them is because we're very focused on 3D visualization, and we want to make this a good tool. We think that this is going to make a difference, but also those things make this much more complex, and we're a very small team. And so we're really trying to just focus on visualization using the power of Unreal Engine. And so there's a product trailer. You guys can check that out on your own. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it kind of highlights some of these features, and it includes a lot of the renders that we've been able to do and that our users have been able to do with this visualization engine. I'm going to talk about the features. So if we go down here to the features section, we talked about the advanced traffic. Let me open up that page because that's one of the core kind of headlining features. And this is just something that we were never able to do with the architectural visualization engines. And if you watch this video, it goes through it, but there are at least 13 different features that make the advanced traffic very powerful, including the 5 different traffic types. So we have We have vehicles, rail, cyclists, jogging pedestrians, and walking pedestrians, and they all use the same traffic system. We have rapid path creation, so you can build paths very quickly, and then each of those paths, you can adjust them one by one. So you can say how much vehicles per hour, you can say the number of lanes, the width of each lane. We also have intersection controllers, which are really powerful because they allow the vehicles to stop and wait. And we are in the process of releasing up to 8 phase traffic for intersection controllers. So those of you involved in traffic, you understand that sometimes you want multiple phases, like the through phase, and then the turn phase, and then the through in the other direction. Sometimes you have maybe pedestrian phasing. And so we have up to 8 phase coming soon on that. We also have auto animations. So when our pedestrians, when they stop, they actually look like they're stopping. And that didn't happen at first. They would work with the intersection controller, but they would just keep pedaling their bikes. And so we made it so that they stopped. And we're actually going to be adding more pedestrian variety soon with things like wheelchairs, moms with strollers, kids on scooters, things like that, to really be able to quickly tell the story of these type of transportation infrastructure projects in a very efficient way. You don't need experience in rigging or animation. You can just set up the paths and they will do it. We also have articulating rail and trucks, customizable asset library. So every car that you want, you can turn them on and off. And there are many more features, and I'll let you go through those. But the traffic system within BeyondCAD really kind of makes it so that there's nothing else like it available in this space. And we also now have VisSim importing in beta, and this allows you to get your VisSim files, export them as FCPs, and bring them into BeyondCAD. And so the cars that you'll see in BeyondCAD, they are realistic cars that we have, but they're just using those points that were generated in VisSim. And you can watch this video, it's taken a while to load. And so we're still working on making that better. So let me go back to BeyondCAD and talk about some of the other features. The civil asset library, we have over 1,500 3D assets, and we don't have kitchen sinks and couches and rugs. We just have things like traffic control devices, traffic signals, pavement markings, construction equipment, people, trees, buildings, just the things that you'll need for infrastructure. Visual graphics. So you can place pathway arrows and highlight areas, and these are used to quickly tell the story of your projects. I was just talking to one of our users, and they're doing a roundabout project, and it's really helpful to be able to just draw in those arrows and turn them on and off to show the various movements through the roundabout. Digital experiences. So Unreal Engine's the same thing that powers Fortnite, and so we might as well tap into the interactivity and make it into a video game. So when you're in a BeyondCAD scene, you can just press F1 and you're just dropped in there automatically walking around the project. You can switch between first person and third person. You can do cyclists, you can do driving simulators in cars as well. And there are a bunch of different characters for that. Custom sign creator. And this is just, I want to stop for a second and just talk about the methodology that we're using to build BeyondCAD. And that is my 10 years of experience in 3D visualization. We would solve problems for clients, making visuals for them. And when we wanted to do BeyondCAD, we're trying to make a product that will solve as many of those problems as possible. And so the sign creator, I've spent a lot of time in SketchUp modeling freeway signs one by one, and then importing them into something like Unity. And so in BeyondCAD, we have a sign creator where you can create your own sign using a variety of sign structures, sign panels, different sign types, and they're quickly made and just placed into the scene. Yes, I can kind of just play this video that shows how quickly those things are done. Obviously, this is sped up, but you just choose the number of sign panels you want. You put the text on there. You can choose decals. You can import your own decals if you want to show different symbols on those. We have a bunch of camera and scene effects to really give a certain look to, again, tell the story of your project, to make it look realistic. We also have things like blueprint and wireframe looks to maybe show a conceptual look if you're early on in the planning phase of the project. and just fast forward to those. And so there are a lot of things that you can do with these camera and scene effects. And then we talked about the Vissim importing. There's also 4D phasing. So you can, every element, every traffic path, every visual graphic can all be applied, can all have phases applied to them, and then you can turn them on and off. And then that can be phased in a Gantt chart scenario. We have a bounding box system, which will take uneven terrain and make it into a nice clean box. We have a media sequencer, which is kind of like simple video editing, placement tools, VR is coming soon, and a lot of other things. So let me jump into BeyondCAD now. This is, so when you download it, we have 8 example projects. 4 of them ship with the project. The other 4 you have to download separately because they're big files. And so this is one of those that's shipped with BeyondCAD. And this is a kind of a complete streets project that we did when I was at Civil FX in Las Vegas, and we received permission to use those same files. And so the buildings and things like that, we're lucky to have those on this project because we had a budget from our client. And we had artists that actually modeled those. But there isn't a straightforward way of getting buildings into any visualization project. Although I just released a video today on how you can use photogrammetry to do that much quicker. So this is what we call the BeyondCAD editor. You'll see all of these BeyondCAD dots. Those are the selector icons. And so you can select any of these assets and adjust them. We can also go over here. This is the asset library on the right. So we can say we want to grab this little palm tree and put it right over here. So that's how easy it is to kind of add context to your scene using the asset library. On the right, we have our features. So import, this is where you import the objects, like we have FBX or OBJ. We're preparing hopefully to support DWG soon. Texturing, so you can apply textures. You can see I've applied a bunch of different kind of textures to really bring this to life. You can also import custom textures like this brick pattern that we had from the landscape architects. You can control the environment. So time of day, you can adjust the clouds, the brightness, the weather, you can make it rain, snow, all of that. This is our traffic system. And it is controlled, the master play button that is up here on the right. So you can turn them on and off. So when it's off, you can see all of these paths. The reddish orange ones are the vehicles. These pink bars are the stop bars for an intersection controller. And so you can go in there and you can edit that. So let's go, we can see this southbound one is not where we want it to be. So we can go edit that. And then we'll start traffic and now they'll stop where they're supposed to. And you can speed traffic up if you want to. So you can come up with some pretty advanced traffic using the system. Creation tools, we talked about the sign creator, where you can create overhead, roadside, or street signs, and we'll be supporting billboards soon. Visual graphics. So if you wanted to create a pathway arrow showing a different movement, let's say that we want to create a pathway arrow. We're going to create this. And then let's confirm pathway, adjust the scale, adjust the arrows, change the color. And in the past, like at Civil FX, we would have to do something like this, we would have to render out our video, and then we would have to do camera tracking in something like After Effects, and then we would add arrows afterward. But with BeyondCAD, you can add them right into your scene, and then you can turn them on and off. You can phase them. You can do all sorts of things with them. And there's also area highlight labels, and we'll be adding more to that. Bounding box, camera settings. So camera settings, we have 5 different presets. So let's say that we wanted to give this one a certain look, where for whatever reason we want to turn down the saturation. But then we can switch to the second camera really quickly. And those are down here at the bottom as well. So you can switch between those different camera presets. And I already have like a painted look, a blueprint look, and kind of a pulled out field of view. So a lot of really cool things you can do with the camera settings. On the bottom left, we have BeyondCAD Studio. The render tab is where you can set up image and video rendering. So we can jump to those different cameras. And we have videos as well. And so we can play through these different cameras and we can render those out in whatever resolution you want. And then obviously these videos and images are what you can use to communicate the project on YouTube, on the news, on social media, in project meetings, however. This is the presenter mode. And this is where you can kind of edit your own user interface, and then you can go through the project in real time. And so I have all of my phases set up here on the right, and I can turn those on and off. And this is disconnected from our cameras. So if I go to camera and I go to Plaza, then I can turn these phases off in real time, on and off in real time. So that's how easy it is to show a project using the present mode. And then I talked about the character mode, third person, first person. And so we can run around the projects this way. We can switch characters. And we can also toggle between first and third person. And this project, when we were actually doing it with Civil FX, this was probably 2017. The client asked us if there were a way that we could show the project in real time. And so we did it then at the time in Unity, and now there's a system where you can just do it super easy in BeyondCAD. And then we have, I'm not going to do the driver mode because I always wreck it there, but we also have cyclist mode. And this is really cool to show complete streets, multimodal, different views like that. And again, you can switch characters in real time, depending on your audience and what you're trying to communicate. We also have the 4D phasing, so we could do Gantt chart, and then we have the sequencer here at the bottom. So I'm going to switch to our second product, but I'm just going to give a break right now. If anyone has any questions or if there's anything you'd want to see in BeyondCAD before I move on to Beyond Typicals. Nothing? Okay, well, I'll just keep rolling along. So our second product is Beyond Typicals. And back to my point about wanting to solve as many problems as possible using BeyondCAD, we kind of made a list of features that we could add in there. And one of them was the option to make a typical section in 3D using a feature within BeyondCAD. And we, in my experience at NDOT and with roadway design, you become familiar with sections, roadway sections. And at Civil FX, we had clients ask us to make stuff like that in 3D. And so I was thinking, oh, let's make an easy tool where someone can make a section, make it in 3D and communicate a project. And as we got farther along, we started having some early users test it out and they really liked it. And we realized it didn't need to just be a feature of BeyondCAD, but it could be a standalone product. And so we split it out as Beyond Typicals. And another thing that we heard back from our early users was that this wasn't just a way for roadway engineers to show like a typical section in 3D, but this was a real-time planning tool that urban planners and designers wanted to use. And so that made us think that we could kind of push this in new directions. And so we've been getting a lot of feedback from users and building this into something that's more dynamic in real time. So this is also built on Unreal Engine. It's a much simpler program than BeyondCAD. You can't do as many things, but you can do a lot very quickly. And I'll go through the features and then I'll kind of give a demo of that. So, and this is just some renderings that we've done. It's not loading them, there they are. And, these look good, but these were done in sometimes just a matter of minutes because Beyond Typicals is so fast, this kind of thing. So you can do sections in minutes. There are dozens of adjustments. So you can every section, you can choose different assets, different trees, light poles, construction cones. You can do phasing and alternatives. And this is really cool to show, like maybe you're doing a downtown project and you wanted to make it go from 4 lanes. And you say, no, we're going to make this into a 2-lane complete streets and add trees and parking and pedestrians and cyclists. You can show those different alternatives and just with the click of a button. And then you can also do construction phasing as well. We have underground utilities. So you can add up to 3 utilities for each section with different sizes, and you can even control the color of the liquid if you want to show difference between water and sewer, for example. And you can do walls and elevation. So you can move sections up and down because we know not all roads are completely flat. You can render out images and videos, including alpha rendering. So it kind of makes the background transparent, which is really nice for websites or PowerPoints or brochures, things like that. The visual graphics we have in BeyondCAD, you can use some of those in Beyond Typicals, just turning them on and off and adjusting them. Super easy. We have layout mode where you can show multiple sections at the same time. Some of the same scene effects with like wireframe. And then even more features, like you can lock the center line, you can do width guides, we have presets, lighting, color gradients, and so much more. So let me bring up Beyond Typicals. So this is the actual software itself. And we have presets, so we can switch between these in real time. And so you can just grab a section. Let's say we want to add a bus lane. We can just add a bus lane that easy. And then we can right click and do surround with striping. And then we can go over here and grab that stripe and edit it. Where did that go? Right there. Edit the striping. Maybe we want it to be something more like that for a bus lane. You can also edit the assets like I mentioned. We can change this. Let's make them palm trees. And then you can edit the traffic libraries. So if we want to only show certain assets, we can do that. Say that we only want to show women for whatever reason. Then we have them there. And then you can do that for this lane as well. So you have a lot of control, and there's a global override for that as well over here, at least for the traffic, for the vehicles. So one of the presets is blank. So we can go to blank and we can just build out a section really easily. And let's surround this with striping, bring in a bike lane. And so hopefully those of you involved in transportation, roadway design, you can see how nice it'd be to create these things in real time like this and then be able to edit them. So I'm gonna add a few more lanes, and then we want to change the direction because these are on the other side. Surround with striping. And let's add a bike lane. Let's add some buildings. And just leave them there. You can even add things like water. Let's flip this. And then I like to go in and change the gradient just to make it look a little bit catchier. And then you can edit the camera, so we can toggle between 2D view if we want. And you can edit in 2D as well. So let's say we wanted to move this bus lane over to here. We can do that in 2D or 3D view. And then we talked about phasing. Let me add some striping. So if we wanted to, if this is existing and we wanted to make some changes, then we could go through and make some changes. Let's say we want to replace the bus with a tram. And so we can just do something like that. We could widen the sidewalk. And then now we can switch between those in real time. And you can lock the buildings and make things so that they don't move around as much as well. And let me just switch to a few other presets. And it crashed. So sometimes things crash as well. But that's kind of what I wanted to show. So now I'm going to open it up to questions, and I can show more things in BeyondCAD, or I'll launch Beyond Typicals as well for you guys. And if no one asks any questions, I'm going to call on Andy to come up with something super interesting for the rest of us.
I just had a quick question. Like, I know you're showing more of like commercial lanes with that feature. Do you have one for residential if you wanted to do cross sections with homes on the left and homes on the right?
You know, that's a really good point. So in our sections, I guess kind of your point is we have commercial buildings, but do we have residential buildings?
Yeah, yeah.
We don't, but that's something that I've never been asked before. Again, this product is new, but I will forward that to my development team, and it would be very easy to add. So thank you.
Okay. The only other question I was going to ask, because I think it would be really cool to have something like this. Could you said something about utilities and being able to show those in the cross section. Would you be able to show like the type of inlets that you're using in this kind of like 3D view?
No, right now you can just, I'll show you how it works. But you're just able to turn on the utility, and then, you know what, this traffic's annoying me. Let me stop it. So we can use different kinds of pipes, and then you can change the color. So that's all the control we have right now, but we do have plans to kind of expand this system in the future.
It's very cool.
Thank you. And you guys can try this out. There's a free 14-day trial if you go to our website. And even after the 14 days, you can still use it. It will just have watermarks. And then when you subscribe, it just removes the watermarks. So you guys can download it. You can test out the presets. And we're also working on a cloud version as well, where you'll be able to just click on a link and use it on any website, not even have to download it. So thank you. Other questions?
Sam, this is Jennifer. I do have a question on the BeyondCAD as far as the rail. Do you have anything for industrial facilities versus like the light rail type application?
Sure. So I'll show you how that works. Let me fix my camera settings. So the way you set up rail is using the traffic system. I'm going to just make it go down the middle of the road because I don't have a rail project open, but we go create rail path, and then we're going to click the points and give it a little curve just to show the articulation. And then you can control the vehicle list. And when you do it for rail, we have these different options. So by default, it's going to have these blue ones, but we can go down. Oh, actually, by default, it has the UPRR. So we have that set, and then we push play. Wait, you know what? Let me do that again. I was trying to set it up while my traffic was going. So if we set up a rail path, and then we push play, this is like my kids. It doesn't perform when I want it to. Let me see. And sometimes when I don't make the path long enough, it doesn't work. Let me try that one more time. But to answer your question, yes, we have 3 different rail types right now, and we're building a system where you'll be able to control the color of the rail, and you'll be able to reorder them. Like right now, you just kind of turn them on and off. You can turn off different cars, but you can't reorder them. There we go.
Okay.
So the way I've described it to my developer that it will work is it's going to be like this vehicle list, but it'll be like PowerPoints, how you can like right click, duplicate, and then rearrange them. That's how I want this system to work. So if we wanted to switch it back to the blue one, then we turn these ones on and we turn these ones off. But yeah, those industrial is really good for like the background of projects. And then you can
Great,
control
thanks.
the speed. Yes. Other questions?
Hey, Sam. What's
Hey,
going on, man?
what's up, Andy?
Yeah, just we're a Civil 3D user group. So if you can kind of, I guess, give everybody some insight as to what we're doing with the data we're creating to get it into your system, whether it's best to come out of Civil 3D or if we need to broker it through something else, or just kind of what you're allowing us to ingest into your system.
Yes, great point. And as we speak, even on the call today with my developers, we're trying to have direct DWG import. We don't have that right now, but that's the eventual goal. So, but for right now, if you can export as an OBJ, FBX, something like that, you can bring it in. We found most users are finding success with the Civil 3D workflow, bringing it through Infraworks. And I know not everyone has Infraworks, but it seems like most people that have the Autodesk, that have Civil 3D have a suite that involves Infraworks. And so I actually just released this video, I think it was last week. And and you can go check this out on our website or on our YouTube channel. But that seems to be the most efficient way because, I mean, not only can you do more things in Infraworks, like adding terrain and buildings and more things in the background, but then it also comes into BeyondCAD really well. And then you can apply textures, you can apply the traffic very quickly, including the pedestrians and cyclists. You can set up your cameras. So that's the preferred workflow right now, is bring it through Infraworks. And hopefully within the next month or two, we're going to have direct DWG support as well. Thanks, Andy. And just a shout out to Andy. He's been a supporter of mine for a very long time, and he's been patient and believing in me from the early days. So shout out to Andy and others like him.
This is some really cool stuff. I really wish it had been around when I was doing more visualization stuff a few years back.
Yeah, well, it's never too late to get back into visualization.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
You have do you have a solid water texture? Just something, so let's say I wanted to, not a river, but I want to jam in a floodplain on top of a model. Is there kind of a, I don't know, some kind of alpha channeled quasi water, just nasty flood thing? That's a bad question. That's a pretty open question. So.
Yeah, I mean, right now you'd have to do some modeling work on your end to make it work right, but yes. And the way you do it is you just go to texture, and sometimes when I texture things on live streams, it crashes, just to warn you, but we have lake water and ocean water. And so we could just apply that to whatever texture you have. So if you had something modeled the way you wanted it to, you could apply that texture, and now, we're experiencing the flood.
So if I export an FBX out of Infraworks, I'm assuming I'm not going to have to do a lot of channel cleanup and effectively kind of texture management, that should effectively work out of Infraworks proper.
Yeah, watch that video. You actually need to export an OBJ, which is just a weird quirk of it. The FBX textures don't come in correctly. The textures all come in into BeyondCAD in a weird way, like they're just numbered. I don't know if Infraworks just does that in general. So it's not super clean, but you can organize it within BeyondCAD, and then you can just apply the textures on top of it. So that video shows step-by-step how to do it. And that's the one where that's probably the workflow that we've seen the most users excited about, as far as it consistently works. So
can I'm going to ask a question. I think you already said it once. I'm going to ask it again.
Sure.
You said both versions, both the Beyond Typicals and the BeyondCAD, we can get trial versions, but if the trial expires, that it watermarks them both, or is it just the Beyond Typical one?
Both, yes. So it's the same licensing system. So the way it works is you go to start free trial, and you don't have to put your credit card information. You just proceed to checkout and put in your email address, and then you'll get an email with instructions on how to download it and run it. And when you first downloaded it, it may have watermarks, but you just on sign in, you put the subscription ID that was emailed to you, and then that removes the watermarks. And so if you actually pay for the subscription, then it just extends that subscription ID. So all our system does is checks that subscription ID and says, is this person either a paying subscriber or within their 14 days? If so, remove the watermarks. And what this means is you can actually do some, it's like a floating license. So if you bought one license, you can have it installed on multiple computers, and it just makes sure that not more than one user is using it at the same time.
But worst case, any one of us could download your software, and let's say that trial expires and I show it to a client and he goes, yeah, I really want that. Effectively, it's just purchasing the license to remove the watermark such that we could provide him that presentable information. Am I getting that right?
Yes. And even like the save files, like our licensing system doesn't know what the save file is. So you could keep learning and building things in BeyondCAD or Beyond Typicals, and definitely with watermarks. And then it's like, oh, we have a meeting for our client. Let's go pay for a month and remove the watermarks. And then when you're done subscribing, those save files will still be fine. So we're just trying to make it as easy as possible for users. Someday we may have to lock it down if people start abusing that system. But yeah, and to be honest, I just had someone that was using the free trial of Beyond Typicals. They loved it. They wanted to get BeyondCAD as well, the bundle. And so I was working with their purchasing department to get a purchase order and all this stuff. And his free trial ran out, and he was getting ready for a meeting. And he's like, hey, we still haven't bought it yet, but I really want to use this. And I just went in and extended his trial. Like, I want to make sure you guys are having a good time using the software. So worst case, just reach out to me, sam@beyondcad.com, and I'll send your trial out forever. So.
Oh, that's great. Adam, have you downloaded and tried any of this yet?
I honestly didn't know about it until today. I think I had heard of BeyondCAD, but only in passing. This past year, I have not done a whole lot of visualization. So before this, I was really big on it, like pushing for it, trying to get it in the civil industry in our area. Andy was probably the only person I knew down here that did it.
The Beyond Typical seems like the first taste of cocaine, right? The first hit that you get. And I think that's going to have a lot of traction just for one-offs, because I think everybody on this call has had the irritation of having to put, stupid roadway sectional typical things together, and it's tedious. Yeah. You're going to have to do it in the CAD drawings, but if you need something a little bit more sophisticated or a little bit cleaner, and I think that's probably, Sam's probably wise to do that, because it's that first taste, right? It's the first hit, and you get kind of addicted to it, and then you kind of want to do more, and you work your way from there.
Well, it would be really great if Beyond Typicals spat out like a 2D section that we could just put on a plan sheet. Then we can just use the software to do that.
Well, you can. I mean, it wouldn't. The only thing it wouldn't do is the slopes. We haven't done slopes yet, but you could spit this out and put it on your plan sheet. So it's not going to look exactly the same as plan sheet drawings are, but you can definitely do 2D stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Andy's right. The gateway drug concept has crossed my mind more than once. To actually, one of our early users of BeyondCAD, we've been kind of feeding some of these users Beyond Typicals to get some feedback. And after a few weeks of these calls, and they were giving us a lot of really good feedback, and they were excited. They're like, BeyondCAD is nice, and we'll use it a couple of times this year, like for some big projects and big things. But Beyond Typicals, we're going to use it for every single project that we have in this office. And I think that's going to be really common, because BeyondCAD, you need good modeling. You need someone with the time to learn the software and get it in there. And over time, that's going to be easier to do. But Beyond Typicals, I mean, I posted a video on LinkedIn. I think Andy may have commented on it before, but it was my kids. I taught my 9-year-old daughter how to do it in like 5 minutes. And then she taught her 7-year-old little brother how to do it. And so I posted a video of them using it. And that's really how easy it is to use, just dragging and dropping sections to build out your roadway project. So I think that ease of use is going to kind of be a gateway into visualization for a lot of people.
I think, was it Courtney that asked, I can't remember, it was Courtney or somebody else that asked a question about the residential roadways. I think for us in Austin, I'm kind of thinking about utility assignment and kind of doing those type of documents for it, meaning Sam's parking the water line below that car on the 12-foot common lane, but typically we're trying to show them all, right? The telecom, the water, the wastewater, the storm, to try to communicate to Austin Water or Austin Public Review or whoever to show where those assignments are going to be. Sam, I don't know if you've got something in there that kind of gives like a geometric dimension as to where that water line is, or if it's just doing the lanes and bike paths and curbs at this point.
Kind of like a labeling system.
Well, like a lot of times I have to say that the water line is 8 feet off of center and the storm is 6 feet off a curb or something like that.
It's on our roadmap. We don't have it yet. I mean, worst case, you could go into Photoshop and just kind of add it afterward.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Same thing with the road cross slope, Adam, that you could just put 2%. I bet it does. I mean, it's so, if you're not exaggerating it vertically, does it really matter if you've got cross slope on there or not?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. And the cross slope, some people say that doesn't matter. This is a different tool than the cross slope sections. And some people say, no, it'd be really nice to have.
I think without the vertical exaggeration, it's so insignificant. You're not even going to be able to visually see it. So
yeah. And from a development 3D geometry standpoint, I've just thought a lot about how that would work. Like it's just, I could make it so you could rotate this section, but then the sides are going to be angled and then it's not going to match up cleanly with the other section. And so then you can go rotate them all, but then you might have gaps in the bottom. So it can be done, but it's not a simple development problem. Like adding labels to the utilities, that's pretty straightforward, but making the slopes work well, that's a little bit more challenging.
You've got curbs and walls and retaining walls and that kind of stuff. I don't know if you've got berm objects or swale objects, but this isn't Civil 3D. I mean, he's not trying to put every subassembly in there. I think you'd go crazy if you tried it.
Well, we have a lot and we want to add more. And eventually our goal is to add like the ability for people to create their own sections. So like we could add stuff like this. We can add, like a cut slope or a fill slope. And then we can move things up and down. So you can do quite a bit, but yeah, we're going to just keep adding more sections eventually to that point of making a section creator. I actually had a user yesterday I was talking to, and they had some ideas for all these very specific like retaining walls and stuff. And he's a SketchUp user, and I actually created these sections. Me and an artist created these sections in SketchUp. And so I just sent him all of the SketchUp files for these sections. And I was like, this is how we make them. If you can make some SketchUp sections, we'll add them in our product. It'll make our product better and you'll get the sections you want until we add some more customizable features. So I think the feedback from users is going to be really key on making this so it's robust and well-rounded for a lot of different types of projects.
I think that's super cool. I hadn't really spent a lot of time, I'll admit to you, Sam, looking at your Beyond Typicals stuff, but I'm kind of inspired to download it and monkey around with it and see if I can break it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you will, not because you're good at breaking things, but also
I am good at breaking
it's new software. So, and you can save these files. So when you're using these, make sure and save often so that you can reload them. But
I think that's great. Like I said,
So,
it's the gateway. I'll be quiet.
no, it's okay. Quick question about saving. Is it like, let's say I'm working with a lot of different cities and I want to have a Pflugerville typical section and I want to have Austin typical sections. Is it a good workflow to have like each one of them as a separate file, such as like City of Austin collector roads, and then, or is it something that you should workflow wise have all of City of Austin's different sections in one file?
I mean, some of that will be up to you. I can tell you the ways you could do it. We do save a file, have a file save, which is called btip. So I can go here and I can go file save and I can go file load. But you could do a lot of that using our section system. Our phasing system. So I showed before, how you could do that. So let's create a new phase. So I go there and it's blank, but let's load up this section for this phase. And then I'm going to create another new phase, and this one's going to be blank. And then I'm going to do this one to be this highway. So we accept that. And then from each of those, we could do duplicate current phase. So this would be, I'm going to rename this Highway 1, and this could be Highway 2. So you, just with the phasing, you could do a lot of that stuff. And then you can switch them all, and then you can actually show display floating phases, display phase header. So like I named Highway 1, now it shows up here, and then I can switch between those down here below. So how you want to manage that with clients is up to you, but the phasing system could get you a lot of the way there. And just to note, this, I'm using our developer edition, so we get patches every week. So this has a few new patches and updates that the version, the publicly available version doesn't have. But there's a bug in the publicly available version where the the striping will reset when you drag in new sections. Well, there's a bug in this one where it crashes on me. So I guess take your pick. Anyways, we fixed that now, and we have a much more robust system for striping, and you can organize those into folders as well. And that's going to be coming on the public version within the next couple of weeks too. So. Thank you, Courtney, Adam, Andy, Corinne. Anyone else have any questions?
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. This was eye-opening.
Yes. And you guys can learn more about, all this on our website, beyondcad.com. You can also reach out to me, Sam at beyondcad.com. Andy's got my cell phone number, so.
You can't, I'm not giving it away.
Well, I can't get away from Andy if I wanted to. And it's mutual there too. So thank you all. I appreciate it. And yeah, have a good weekend.
I think that's great work, Sam. I appreciate you showing that to us.